Good afternoon, everyone. We will begin shortly. Please make sure to change your name at this moment, either as counselor or teacher. Next to your name, you will go ahead and find the option for more. Click on that part and go ahead and select whether you will be identifying yourself as a counselor or a teacher. We will begin shortly. Just hold on and bear with us for a minute. At this moment, we will ask you guys to mute your microphone for the first part of our workshop and keep your cameras off. During the breakout room in the second portion of our workshop, please make sure to turn on your cameras so that we are able to talk to you and deliver the best information possible. So again, just as an example, if you are a teacher, you can go ahead and write your name, teacher, and then followed by your name. For example, Maria Sanchez. Or if you're a counselor, write down counselor, followed by your first and last name. This is so that we can identify who you are and divide you during the breakout rooms. We will begin shortly. Again, if you are signing in at this moment, go ahead under the section, under your name, select the option more and identify yourselves either as a teacher or a counselor. Once you have done that, go ahead and write down your name and last name so that at the moment for the second part of the workshop, you will be divided to the different breakout rooms for teachers or counselors. Again, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jackson Cruz. I am the Education USA Advisor in Managua, Nicaragua, and thank you for joining us again to this workshop specially designed for counselors and teachers. Today, we will go ahead and first and foremost, if you were not listening to the very beginning, go ahead and identify yourself either as a counselor or a teacher. Under the option more, go ahead and write down teacher, if you are a teacher, followed by your first and last name, or counselor, followed by your first and last name. Thank you for joining us for this very first workshop.
Sorry, Jackson, one quick note. If we have any students with us today, please, you can choose whether you want to pretend to be a counselor or pretend to be a teacher, and that will determine which breakout room we put you in. So if you are a student and you will be supporting your teacher as they write your letter recommendation, you should put the name teacher in front of your name, right? Sorry about that,
That is
Jackson.
correct. No, that's okay. I completely forgot about that. Thank you again for reminding me. Today's workshop will be on how to write effective letters of recommendation. All right. So as we know, this is an important pillar when it comes to the admissions process. First, I want to know where you guys are joining us from, what part of the world. So we'll go ahead and ask you to fill in this short poll. All right. Where are you guys joining us from? So we have different options if you are joining us from North America, Canada, or Mexico, Central America, South America, the Caribbean, all right? And also identify yourselves as either counselor or teacher or other. That is, as Mo said at the very beginning, if you are a student and at this moment, if you will be helping them to write your letters of recommendation and guide them. So we will wait just a few more minutes to see what the answers are, right? So go ahead and write down or select the options. Okay, so we have, a few good members joining us from North America. The majority are also from Central America and followed by South America. Thank you again for joining us for this very first workshop on letters of recommendation. We also have a lot of counselors joining us in today and teachers. I imagine that we have some students that will be guiding either their teachers or counselors to write this important document that is used for most colleges and universities when it comes to the admissions process. Thank you again for participating on this very first workshop. All right, but first, we will go ahead and see some of the things that we'll see today. What is Education USA and our upcoming virtual events? We have for next week, very important for you guys, tips and tricks to filling out the Common App. This is scheduled for Monday at 2 p.m. CST. Okay, Monday, September 28th. Don't miss out on this great opportunity. All right, if you're having problems or you're having issues, for example, you don't know how to start to complete your Common App, this is your chance to join in and learn, what tips and tricks there are to do this. And also on the 30th September, we have a guidance counselor's guide to the Common App. And this is a special session designed for your guidance counselors. So don't miss out if you're a student today to log in next Wednesday, September 30th, to participate on this important session, okay? And right afterwards, we'll begin by our first workshop on writing effective letters of recommendation. And at the end, remember, if you have any questions, you can go ahead and write it on the chat box and or address them at the end of our session so that we can go ahead and ask you. How will today work out? All right. So you will receive information on the presentation of letters of recommendation. That's the first thing that we are going to do today. We will read about the do's and don'ts, the layout of this important document, what's in it, what should teachers write, what should counselors write, for example, because there is a difference. After you get the first part of the presentation, you will be divided into the breakout rooms. That is why it's really important that you identify yourselves today, right now, either as a teacher or a counselor. If you're a student that will be helping out their teacher or counselor, go ahead and decide whether you want to be in the breakout room for teacher or the breakout room for counselor. In the breakout room, you will be guided by two experts on the subject, two advisors, who will actually write a mock letter of recommendation using very important documents such as the brag sheet, a CV, or a short biography of our mock student, Miguel. All right, so there will be a few things to consider. Remember, to participate in the breakout room, we ask that you kindly unmute yourselves and turn on your cameras so that we can have that one-on-one communication, and so that you are able to see and evaluate the information that we will present. So remember, during the breakout room, go ahead and turn on your cameras and also turn on your mics so that you are able to participate, give your insights, give your opinion, and you can write the mock letter of recommendation. But first, what is Education USA? Education USA is a Department of State network that is present in 175 countries around the world, right? This network presents accurate, comprehensive and current information to students who want to apply to an institution or universities in the United States. It is a free access. That means our services are completely free. In case that you want to go ahead and reach out, you can log into educationusa.state.gov and find out where your nearest Education USA center is located so that you can get in touch with any of our more than 430 advisors that are, guiding these centers around the world. So make sure that if you are interested in studying in the United States, reach out and find out how you want to do this, how you want to proceed, and what are the processes that it will need for you to take to study at any of the 4,700 accredited institutions in the United States. So these are some of the free services that we offer, and also sessions that on a weekly basis, center to center in each of the countries where we are present, deliver. So if you want to find out more how to research your options, how to finance your studies, how to find scholarships, how to go ahead and find that institution that will provide financial aid for international students, how to complete your application, how to apply for your student visa, how to prepare for your departure, go ahead and participate on any of our sessions that we do. I know that right now, because of COVID-19 has affected us worldwide, all of our sessions are delivered online. So it is a very easy access for you to log in and communicate with any of our advisors. So remember, go to educationusa.state.gov so that you can write to them and reach out, schedule that session, and find out how you can study in the United States. All right, so how are letters of recommendations used by admission committees, you may think? As you may know, it takes more than just one simple pillar to get admitted to any of the universities. We have, for example, a GPA has to be competitive. We have standardized tests such as the SAT and the TOEFL exam. We also have your extracurricular activities, essays, and letters of recommendation. That is why we are here today, so that you can learn an easy way to process this information, an easy layout, and how to organize all of this information, because we do understand that that your students, they do a lot in your schools. They are either participating in extracurricular activities, whether it is sports, clubs, or maybe doing volunteer work. And you may also take into consideration their leadership qualities, their organizational skills in the classroom. So all of this, has to be written down in a well-organized way in your letters, because this is how you can reach out to many admissions committees and advocate, for that student to get the admissions. Remember that when admissions committees consider, a student, it is a global aspect. It's not just one particular section that they take a look at, such as their GPAs, all right, or their standardized tests. It is a global spectrum. So that's why we are here today. Now, when it comes to your letters of recommendation, admissions committees will use it for also getting into honors programs or acquiring that particular financial aid offer or scholarship, all right? It could be a big difference between an admissions committee member choosing between student A and student B. That's why it's really important for you to write down the student's qualities, abilities that make him or her eligible, that makes him or her, the best option to be considered for that particular university. So you really have to get into organizing all of this information, all right? This important document goes beyond their grades, it goes beyond their transcripts, any school records. When it comes to a guidance counselor or a teacher, all right, the admissions committee, they value your opinion. They value what you have to say about this student. What makes him or her different, okay? What will they bring into the institution, for example? What particular qualities or assets? Will they be able to organize clubs at their institution? Will they lead a particular campaign, for example? So your opinion does count as a counselor or as a teacher, and that's why you need to learn how to organize this information so that it shouldn't be read as a list of activities, for example, which will be common sometimes, but we are here to learn how to write them effectively, how to describe, how to evaluate all the information that you acquire from the student, so that it's not just a list where, you know, with a bullet point, for example. It's also the opportunity to make a difference between those low-income students trying to get that financial aid offer that they desperately need. So it is a big opportunity that you as teachers have, and also as counselors, to say, my student from my school should, you know, get this opportunity, should be admitted, all right? And it is a way to reach out to the admission officers at a university or college and give them that chance, give them that way of entrance. When it comes to the recommendations for admissions purposes, all right, you should be highlighting the individual's unique strength, for example, their highs, their lows. You may think, lows, why should I be able to do that? Well, because we know that we are human beings and it is a process. We learn through failure as well. So maybe your student was not the best during their freshman year, but you saw them grow over time. You saw how they were able to overcome obstacles. So a letter of recommendations shouldn't just you should bring that quality of humanity, you know, their strength, their weaknesses, their areas of improvement into their into this important document. All right. There you should be able to evaluate how they have grown. The student is the start. Please make notice of this. The letter of recommendation should be first and foremost about the student. All right. They are the main stars of this document. You know, you should go ahead and say, well, of course, I am their teacher in X or Y subject or class, you know, but it shouldn't go beyond that. Remember that most of this information is already stated in their CVs, it's already stated in their transcripts. So try not to overemphasize on the grade that they got in your class, more of their leadership qualities, more of in their organizational skills, for example, okay? He or she are the main focus of this written content. Your opinion, as I said before, says more about their test scores, transcripts, or any other information that should be provided. Again, be objective about the student, okay? Their personal growth, their challenges that they have had, okay? Anything that you think might be worth mentioning. It's very important that you let the admission officers know about this, right? Now, we're going to evaluate a little bit more, so pay close attention on some of the big differences when it comes to a teacher's letter of recommendation and a guidance counselor, okay? In theory, we have that a teacher will, you know, describe the history, the relationship of teacher, student in the classroom, okay? The impact that the student has with their classmate, for example, the type of leadership. Let's say you had a campaign to fundraise, to go clean up you know, a particular section of the school, as it is in some public schools, for example. And so this teacher decided to organize different groups, or if they are doing some sort of study group, and he's always volunteering to organize them. This should be noted on your letter of recommendation. Their work ethics, their social conduct, for example. Bring specific examples of their outstanding work, or special situations that are worth mentioning. When it comes to the guidance counselor's letter of recommendation, they should describe their ability over time. For example, when it comes to demographics, when it comes to their curriculum, when it comes to their test scores, when it comes to their standardized tests, when it comes to what they have done. So there is a big difference between them. And you will be guided in the break room to write a mock-up recommendation. And don't worry, all of this information is also will be reminded there, and our experts, our advisors that we have today as leaders in the breakout rooms will show you how. So just bear with us at this moment. Now, am I a teacher and I know that this student does a lot of extracurricular activities? Should I mention that? Okay, so one important aspect is unless you were directly involved in this particular activity and you led the students, all right, you should. But if you didn't, you shouldn't, all right? If you had no participation in this particular activity and you don't know about it, you know, you shouldn't mention it. It doesn't do much to just simply mention that that the student participated in, you know, X, Y, or a number of extracurricular activities. So do make sure that if you will mention something, a particular activity that a student did, you were directly involved, that you had a direct participation in it, and we're not just a mere or an spectator, for example, all right? So let's say that you were leading the biology Olympiads, okay? And you were also the biology teacher. And so you had this sort of connection with the student, and you saw the student achievements in class, but you also saw how this student contributed in the math Olympiad. Then you can go ahead and yes, you can go ahead and mention it in the letter of recommendation. I hope that this is clear. So remember, mention those activities if and only if you were directly involved, leading them, that you had the contact or interaction. That's the word. That's the main key word here. You had that interaction with the student. You were able to evaluate him or her growth, abilities, qualities, leadership, all right? And then you can go ahead and add it to your letter of recommendation. So when it comes to these important documents, what can we use? What other tools do we need in order to write a document that will impact the admissions officers and say, you know what, this is the type of student that I want in my university or college. This is the type of student that I would love to have here, okay? First, we have the brag sheet, which we will give you a briefing after this slide, okay? Which it's your best guide either as teacher and or counselor. There's two main ones that you will be using today, so bear with us. I know that some teachers may also be the counselors in some schools, so you really have to decide whether you will be participating in, you know, any of the breakout rooms, either as a teacher or as a counselor, okay? Also your CV, but be careful with your CVs because sometimes we see some letters of recommendations and these are a list of activities, you know, and it shouldn't be read as such. A letter of recommendation shouldn't just be a list of the activities that the student has done. As I said at the beginning, it should be an evaluation. Also, by the biography, make sure that you can ask your advisees at your school that they can write a short biography about them. If you don't, maybe you are new to the school, it's also a good writing prompt or a good exercise to get to know the student. So there may be different situations with each and every one of you. But a biography can also bring details that can otherwise, you know, you will not be able to know. And also an essay. If the student has had the opportunity to write an essay for maybe, let's say, the Common App, go ahead and ask for it. Maybe you will get an insight into their lives. You will get an insight into their interactions with other students, what ticks them, what motivates them, what drives them, and why do they want to study in the United States? Why, they should be writing these letters. Also, your transcripts. If you don't know the student, this is also a good opportunity to see. Maybe you are new to the school, and the student approached you and said, you know what, can you write a letter of recommendation? These are just some tools that you can pretty much use. Maybe you see some drops or decrease in their GPAs, you can go ahead and also schedule an interview with a student and ask them what happened, why did your grades drop? Talk to them, approach them. Remember that the letters of recommendation is also that tool that can bring you closer and get to know the student a little bit more or better. Also talk to the teachers, gather more information about their performance in their classes or any activities that are worth mentioning. Let's say they have won a math competition or maybe the chess club, or, get to know them. The letters of recommendations are these documents that can definitely bring a good highlight into the college admissions process. So use it wisely. Use it in a way that it will help out the student. All right, so this is an example of the brag sheet. This is what it looks like. And you will get a much clearer one in the breakout rooms. At the very first stop, you will see information that will introduce the student, such as, the student's full name, their address, what particular class, they had with you. For example, if you had taught them maybe 9th, 10th, 11th grade, what particular courses in this case, and also, they will describe there any adjectives that will let you know who they are, okay? And another question that you will have in the brag sheet is why they have chosen you. A lot of the students have admiration for their teachers. They are role models. And you will find out maybe that as a teacher or a counselor, you have been motivating them more than you think. So it is a really good opportunity for you to get to know your students better, all right? Then in the next section of the brag sheet, we also have describing a lesson, for example, that they enjoyed with you. You will be surprised of the information that the students have written. Also, a project that they feel proud of. Another opportunity for you to get to know the student. And what is something that that as a student, they don't know, that you don't know about the student. So it's a really good opportunity, valid information to write those letters of recommendation that will definitely help out in the admissions process. The next section that a brag sheet has are different characteristics such as academic achievements, creative and original thoughts, productivity, integrity, reaction to setbacks, concerns for others, self-confidence, initiative, and independence. So the student will be asked to fill in all this information so that you can use it to evaluate, to give that insight, to give that opinion that will be objective in an organized way. And last but not least, additional information that the student may consider worth mentioning and for you to know and for you to write. The guidance counselor structure for the brag sheet is very similar, where at the beginning, again, they are asked to list major activities in the room. This will give you an insight for the introduction, unique strength, body content. In the body content, you should list academic record, extracurricular activity, community achievements, character, personality, and then the conclusion is a brief summary. So this is the main structure that a letter of recommendation for guidance counselor should have, different from a teacher's. Okay, so in the teacher's structure or layout, the very first thing that you should mention is, how do you know the student? In what context? What courses? Who you are? All right. Remember that the student is the start. It shouldn't be a long description about yourself. The lapse of time you have known the student. Okay. Make the university want to know the student. They make the university want to know a little bit more. Okay. How they have, how show them, for example, how they will contribute to the academic environment in this institution. And then at the end, okay, that's what the body should be saying. Subject, curiosity, scientific interest that the student has, most prominent work, the ability to communicate coherently, their intellectual ambition. These are all aspects that will be described within the body content of the essay. And then last but not least, you have the conclusion, why you are recommending this student, why they should go there, all right? That it is an honor for you to talk about Maria, for example, to be considered for admissions, okay? And be part of their institution. Bring forth their curiosity, okay? That's what you're trying to do. You're trying to have them be curious as to, okay, yes, I want this student here. I want to know more, all right? So that's how you do this. Remember, you should evaluate rather than provide a big list or a long list of activities that will not do the student any good. Okay, So these are just some tips that we have before we go ahead and we begin our breakout rooms, okay? Write a personal anecdote, all right, about the student. Write about how the student has improved, excelled in your class, as I said at the beginning. Maybe in freshman year, if you had them for a long time, they had, not the best scores or grades or GPA, but then in their senior year, they excel and they went maybe from that 70 to having those 90s and 95s, okay? Camaraderie, for example, in the classroom, how they help their classmates, their peers, maybe tutoring. Remember, evaluate rather than describe. How the student behaves inside and outside the classroom, maybe during lunchtime, if they are curious, if they are respectful to the cleaning lady or the cafeteria, how they behave. Analyze all of this information because it does play a big difference when it comes to an admission officer considering whether the student is the right fit for the institution. All right, so it works both ways. Remember, the admissions committee, they value what the teachers and counselors have to say about the student. Provide your personal information, okay, personal opinion, why the student should be admitted, as I said before, okay, what they will take to the institution. Also, do not exaggerate. Do not, make a profile so grand, so great that it will be unbelievable. You have to be objective. You have to keep your feet well grounded. All right. Be realistic as to what you say and how you say things. Take your time. Of course, if a student brings your request from one day to the next, of course, you're not going to write it. So let them know that you do require at least, a month to gather up all this information, to read over the essays, to read over the brag sheet, to evaluate all the information that they have on their CVs. Do not provide a lengthy or a long description about who you are or your credentials. Remember, the student is the star here and they are the main focus. All right, do not concentrate on physical appearance. Also do not copy and paste a letter of recommendation. You don't know if maybe two students will be applying to the same institution, and at this moment, the admissions committee is going to receive two exact letters. So you have to bear in mind, you have to be really careful that your letters of recommendation are directed, are very much written for those institutions. Do not provide a list of objectives, as I said before. Also long letters of recommendation. At least it should be 1 to 2 pages long. That is the ideal length, okay? So make sure that you keep that in mind. 3 pages, remember that these admission officers, they have thousands, if not other applications to read and other documents. So make sure that you are concise, you are objective, and you go straight to the point. Also, do not list the student activities as it is described in their CVs. Okay, that's not going to help the student any more, because chances are that they uploaded this as an extra document in the Common App, so they already have their CVs there. It's not going to help them anymore. Make generalizations. Do not do this, please. Also. So now we will go ahead and be divided into the breakout rooms. As I said at the beginning, if you have not done so, write down if you are a teacher or a counselor. And once you enter the breakout rooms, remember to activate or unmute yourselves, and also turn on your cameras. We want to know who we are dealing with, and also so that we can have that personal connection, so that we can have that personal communication. We have our experts from all over Central America, Mexico, and the Caribbean, who will help you and guide you through writing a mock letter of recommendation. So besides the first part, which is very explanatory, it's about explaining. The second part, you get your hands dirty. You get your hands on the experience of writing a letter of recommendation. We are going to have a mock student. His name is Miguel, all right, who is also will be applying for admissions. So your job will be to write a letter of recommendation either as a teacher or as a counselor. So this is the time where you do that before we enter any breakout rooms. Any questions that you may have, we will address them at the end. Okay, so we will continue with our breakout rooms. Remember, again, activate your cameras and also unmute yourself so that we are able to hear you. We'll go ahead and enter the breakout rooms.
Jackson, we have one question before breakout rooms.
Sure.
Fernando wanted to know, what is the ideal length for a letter of recommendation?
Okay, an ideal length would be maybe a page to a page and a half, maybe no more than 2 pages long in this case. Remember that, as I said during one part of the presentation, you have a short amount of time with each admission officers when they are reviewing your application. If you make your letter of recommendation too long, you already have an essay there. You know, chances are that they're not going to read it thoroughly. They're not going to read it carefully. So maybe a page and a half will be the ideal length of a letter of recommendation.
Good. Okay, and another question we received was if they can have this presentation after. So the PowerPoint is for our Education USA internal use. We cannot send you the PowerPoint, but this session is being recorded and we will be uploading it to our YouTube channel. And I will be sending this link to all of the people that signed up on Eventbrite so that you can watch it again and again and again. Okay. So I just opened up all the rooms. You should see an invitation on your screen now. Please click join and have fun. So everyone should have the invitation on their screen. Let's see. You should click join. So let's see.
Or are still there in the main room, I think.
Okay. Maria Mercedes, we did send you an invite. Did you receive it? You can, let me unmute you. I just asked to unmute you. Hello.
I'm kind of lost because I'm also dealing with a problem that I have from my job. So I had to split into things. Where did you send me the invite?
It should be coming up right on your screen. Let me try and send you to a different room to see if it will come up.
I'm not used to the Zoom. That's why there. Thank you.
Yes. Jackson, what room do you want to go to? Counselor or teacher?
I'll go to teachers.
Okay, you can jump around.
Yeah.
Okay, bye.
Right. Thank you. Is everyone back? We're waiting for all of our members to log back
Yes,
in.
we cannot see your camera, Jackson. We
Okay.
cannot see your face, your beautiful
Hold on.
face.
Sorry. Sorry. Oh, we're almost back. We're going to wait for all of our members to join us back into the room.
Yes.
So thank you, everyone. Wow, I saw a lot of participation within all the break rooms. It was great. A lot of content, a lot of ideas on this student. And it was wonderful to see how all the letters were coming in together. Remember that when it comes to a letter of recommendation, it has to be about the substance. It has to be about all the content that you can add in order to describe the student. You are a recommender. You were chosen by the student to provide information, to advocate, to talk on behalf of them to the admissions committee. And this is what this exercise was all about, getting you guys, providing you, all of you as teachers or as counselors, tools, different tools that you may use in your schools to write this important document. It was very satisfying to see all of you guys collaborating in different levels with the advisors. I know we may not have had a lot of timing to get this going. It is just a draft. So maybe at this moment, I would like any of the participants, maybe teachers or advisors, to read a little bit about a line or two or three of their letters of recommendations, if you will. So maybe you may want to go ahead and share what you came out with. What is something that you think will call out the attention when it comes to the admissions committee? Any volunteers?
Yeah, so while we're waiting for one of our volunteers to share their screen, I'm also going to send the teacher brag sheet and the counselor brag sheet, the blank versions that are downloaded directly from Common App, so that you could ask your students to fill them out and help you write the letters for your students. So I just sent them in the chat. You can download them, but maybe let's invite one of our breakout room leaders. Melissa is going to share her screen. You're muted, Melissa. We can't hear you. There we go. Okay, there we go. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes.
So
Go
yes,
for it.
Go ahead. We didn't get to finish our paragraphs, just making the strong points, the important points, the more necessary points that needed to be expressed to the admission. So our first thing was to share his academic achievements to the admissions. So you can see in our first paragraph here, Miguel's interaction with his classmates, how he got on with the students in his class. We had it stand out in our first paragraph. And it was important for us to put the academics at the top, and then his extracurricular activities, and then his family life in our final brag about the student.
Yes, and I can see you put some places where we would put anecdotes if we actually knew the student and could think of of real examples. So I
Yes.
think a wonderful, wonderful example. Good job. I don't know if anyone else wants to share their screen. Maybe one of the counselors wants to share their screen to show the difference between a counselor letter and a teacher letter. And as I put in the group, I will be sending the main recording session to you all as a YouTube link. And I will also send a link to these Google documents that you guys worked on so that you can have them if you forgot to take a picture of the Google Docs. So I don't know who's sharing their screen, but go ahead, take it away.
Rodrigo, you're muted. I think it's
Yeah, I
Rodrigo.
think that's for my group. First of all, do anybody from my room want to jump in? I want to see how much we learn together. If not, I can speak.
So you are, I just clicked it, so you can unmute yourselves. You are welcome to unmute yourselves and talk. So if anyone wants to jump in, you are welcome.
No, it's okay. So the main emphasis of our letter, more than having a full, complete narrative, was trying to have an outline of a first draft. So in order to have that, we were asking ourselves, okay, so this is a very well-rounded person, but the trick is that we don't want to sound as cliches. So we want to convey that Miguel, in this case, is a well-rounded individual. He has experience. He has both academic and athletic excellence. He has community involvement. So we wanted to paint a narrative where we would be able to link all these three aspects in Miguel's life in terms of skills that we believe might be relevant for a U.S. university. And first of all, we start with academics. Of course, he's #1 in class. He participated and won the Math Olympics. And most important, he's sharing knowledge with his students. He was a math mentor. This is going to become relevant later in the letter because we're going to talk about his leadership skills, his community involvement, the fact that he cares about sharing knowledge, right? We end this general idea with the sentence that he's a committed and dedicated member of his society and he's shown leadership potential. And then we link that to more extracurricular and non-academic activities. We talk a little bit about his personal life. He has a part-time job. Even though he assists his siblings with their work in his free time, he's shown academic excellence. So that shows a little bit of, or a lot of maturity for his age, right? He volunteers at a hospital. We start talking a little bit about his volunteering job, et cetera, et cetera. And we wanted to also emphasize that he was a translator, which shows concerns for not only, again, the theme of not only trying to learn things, but to actively engage with his community and trying to share that knowledge. And we didn't finish the whole letter, of course, but we wanted to talk more about his skills to wrap things up.
Good, awesome.
Excellent.
Progress.
I like the sentence. I like the sentence here in the middle that says that he seems to have a connection with others. He shows his cultural appreciation by helping others have their voices heard. That's definitely something the guidance counselor would notice, right? Teachers as well, but it's more of a generalization and not necessarily like, what is Miguel like in my biology class? Because these are guidance counselors and not teachers. So very good job, guys.
Excellent job. I love it. So hopefully all of you guys grasp the main idea, whether you are writing a letter of recommendation as a counselor or writing it as a teacher. So content is important, as you saw in this brief draft, which you can use as examples. As Mo said, some of this information, you will also find it, and we'll try to send it to you so you'll have access. So remember, content, description, and evaluation rather than just listing all of the information from your students is very important to letters of recommendation. So I want to thank each and every one of you that participated today on this first workshop for teachers and counselors. Be tuned up for next activities. Remember, next week we have our sessions on tips and tricks for filling out the Common App for counselors as well. So make sure to join in on the 28th and the 30th. We have those next webinars from Education USA for you guys to join in. Any
Thanks,
last
everybody.
words? Thank
If
you,
anyone has
guys.
any questions, you can unmute yourself or comments. This was our first workshop with this setup, and we hope that you enjoyed it and felt like you really interacted and got to practice.
Okay, thank you. One quick question. I came across like the bulleted, there's like a new format going around the bulleted narrative version versus the traditional one. Can you quickly shed some light on that? What are your thoughts on having it like by headings? So you have like the academic curriculum, and then another section would have like student interest, or and then another one would have their extracurricular activities, and under each heading, the teacher would have like bulleted explanations for each. What do you think about that format?
I personally haven't heard of that. Have you heard of that format, Jackson?
I saw it, but when it comes to the purpose, you have to see whether it will be useful for your advisee in this case. It could be like a quick view of if you have like the bullets, right? It will be just read as a list in this case. It will not describe, it will not evaluate the student either as a teacher or as a counselor. So you really have to take into consideration the purpose of this letter and how it will serve of a benefit as for the admissions process.
My biggest worry is that if it's more of a list, it's going to be very similar to a CV or resume, and you want to avoid repeating what they're writing.
No.
Okay, it's more of like dividing in sections.
It wasn't a list. It's like in sections as how we do the traditional one, but with headings. Basically.
Okay. I mean, I think
they're saying admissions officers would like it helps them to quickly pick out key terms, when they're scanning and reading, because they could automatically go to a section and know what would come under that, to see what would help that student to stand up.
I think that's very valid. I just be careful. For example, if you're a teacher and you're doing as a teacher, your headings or your sections would probably be like passion on the subject area, overall efforts in class, camaraderie or collaboration with classmates. You don't want to talk about the extracurricular activities if you didn't see them, because then you're just kind of mentioning, oh, I heard this kid does French club, but I've never seen it, right? So if you want to try and organize them in that manner, I think it's valid, as long as it still maintains like a detailed letter that's at least a page long and lets you get to know that student on a deeper level. I think we're all different learners, so that's definitely for someone who's visual. As you mentioned, you can just go straight to the section. So I think it's valid. I have not talked to admissions officers about that yet, but now I'm going to ask them because I am interested to hear their thoughts.
Just quick, some of the section, like for example, one that I came across, it has the first section, students' experience with the curriculum, then academic characteristics, another section, personal qualities, and then the last section, final recommendation.
I mean, those sound like good sections to me. I think it's up to you as a counselor if you prefer, which you prefer. If you prefer to separate it like that, I think those were really good sections that you just mentioned. And now I'm going to make it a personal project to Google this new format of letters of recommendation.
Okay, thank you for that. Yeah. All right.
Any other questions or comments before we wrap it up for the day?
I have a question. I was writing when we were making the draft regarding how this student chose or had two options, two careers, an engineering and then a teaching English option. And then my question goes as to, should we make any changes, or should we take any considerations or any tips whether the student is applying for only one career, or in this case, he's applying for two, and two that are different in the sense that one is very scientific oriented and the other one is humanistic oriented. How much do we take that into consideration? Because we are proposing these students to study something, and engineering, the comments that I would write would be different if I was recommending him for a humanistic career. So any tips or ideas on that?
Excellent, thank you. Well, one of the recommendations that I will give, remember that in the United States, a student will not have to declare their major until their second year. So it is valid for most students to explore, especially in the liberal arts, to explore different careers, or even to register or for admissions for one career, and maybe halfway through the semester or halfway through freshman year or their first year to switch careers. So it would all depend on what the student has to do. And even so, a student can major with a main career, let's say engineering, and also have a minor or a second, career in this case. So it will depend on what the student has to do. It is their option on how they want to decide what they want to study and how they want to do things, which is something doable. I had friends in college who had 2 majors and one minor, for example. It was a load. It was, they studied all the time. They had like 21 credits, and it was possible. So it will definitely depend on what the student wants to do and how they want to do things. And it is up to them to explore their options, especially at a liberal arts university or college in this case, to see what options there are, and if they want to switch or change majors, well, they are allowed to do that in the United States. So
Right.
even if the student has one career or one set of mind at the beginning, at the end of high school, and it's okay to switch. It's okay to change once they get to college. And this is one of the beauties of institutions in the United States.
Yeah, so just to add to what Jackson said, I think in this case, you need to talk about the subject that you witnessed as a teacher. So you should be talking about his strengths in physics class, or his strengths in maths class, or his strengths in English class. For example, if you were his English teacher and he's applying to engineering, they still want to know, how did he do in English class? What were his contributions? Because as Jackson said, in the US education system, we value not just concentrating on your major, but they also have to take general education classes and other fields. So you really should concentrate on, what did you witness in your classroom in that specific field? Did he struggle, but did he push through it? Or was he always excellent and curious? What kind of student is he in that subject material? That was a great question. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So I think that's it for today, because I know you all are very busy. And so thank you for your participation today. We hope that you learned a lot, and we will be sending you a follow-up email with this link and also the documents that you guys wrote in your breakout rooms. I do ask for a little patience, as it may take a few days, may not be tomorrow, but I will send them to you, as I know you all want to have those documents when you sit down to write your letters of recommendation. So stay safe, wash your hands, and please tune in for our future webinars that we have coming up.
Thank you,
Bye,
everyone,
everybody.
and have a great afternoon.